I'm sure you saw it as you drove in, the neighborhood's very, very open and a great place to, for example, ride a bike. And when I was little, there actually were about 17 kids who lived on our street. So it was always busy. My brother and sister ice skated, and I was always going to their lessons as I grew up. I'm the youngest sibling, and I started competitively skating when I was 3.
When she was 10, Marina survived a horseback riding accident that left her in a 3-month coma. Recovering meant relearning basic skills, navigating school and friendships, and adjusting to a new way of living. What does it take to rebuild a life? How do small victories shape who we are? Can we find freedom in unexpected places? I'm Léa Hirschfeld, and this is episode 11 of Out of Sync, exploring life through disability, one story at a time. New episodes drop every Tuesday on all platforms, transcripts are on YouTube, and it's time to grab a cup of your favorite drink and enjoy the story.
But that was just starting the basic skills level. And actually, my mom's a ballet teacher and owned her own ballet studio for years. So my brother, sister, and I were all ballet dancers too. Mom taught all of us at some point.
Did you like school?
Yeah, I've always liked school. I like learning new things. I like being with friends. I remember I built strong connections with my teachers, especially, well, I was in 4th grade when I had my accident, but my 4th grade teacher and I were already pretty close. But even after that, we were still really close. And when I graduated high school, my parents actually had some of my old teachers over for a little graduation celebration for me.
That's a strong bond. How old were you when you had your accident?
I had just turned 10. My birthday is March 11th, and my accident was April 19th, 2003. And, well, when I finally came out of my coma, I thought I was still 9. I couldn't remember my birthday. I was at a horseback riding lesson after my skating lesson. It was a group lesson outside on a trail in a single file line. And at some point, the girl on the horse behind me bumped into the horse I was on. The horse I was on kicked it back at the other one, which evidently threw me off her back. But then I hit the ground, and the horse I was riding took off running, but one of my ankles was still stuck in the stirrup. So as she ran, I was getting dragged behind her. And by the time my riding instructor caught up to us after she stopped, is Cinnamon Bun, that was the horse's name, had to run over 100 feet. The only reason I'm still alive is because I had a helmet on. And my riding instructor had his cell phone with him, thank God, and called a 911. I was med flighted into Boston Medical Center.
Do you have any memories of the accident, or did you just wake up months later, as you said, after a coma, and you were told the story?
I don't actually remember the accident because I was on so many medications after that. They gave me medicine to help keep me in my coma because I think because my brain was swelling. There were a lot of times where my brain was trying to wake me up, but that, that just kept setting my monitors off. Because if I woke up too soon, then something in my brain would pop or break. So I was in the intensive care unit for 6 weeks. I opened my eyes, but I was still comatose. And I was transferred over to Spalding Rehab, which used to be part of Mass General. And I didn't fully snap out of my coma until July. So when people ask me, I tell them that in total, I think I was in a coma for 3 months.
What changed for you after that?
Oh, so many things were different. I I mean, even when I was in the hospital, I had to relearn how to walk, how to well before that, things like how to eat, how to function on any given day, how to use my body and my voice, and physical, occupational, and speech therapies. Even when I moved home, sometimes people just weren't thinking, and even if I did be with friends at school, if they wanted to, like, go out and do something physical, I couldn't go with them. Like, I remember it used to take me a really long time to eat my lunch, especially when I got back to school in 5th grade. I'd be eating a lunch and everyone would get to go out at recess, but I couldn't because I was still eating. Some of my friends stayed with me, but then I felt bad because I knew they were essentially giving up their recess time so that I wasn't alone. Which, I mean, meant the world to me.
Do you remember having conversations with your friends when you went back to school or with your teachers about the new things that you needed, maybe, or other things, like with your siblings and with your parents?
I don't think specifically. I mean, I slowly progressed and was able to do some more things. Like, I remember for a while I needed help getting, like, in and out of the bathroom. But one day, my body had progressed enough that I could start getting in and out by myself. I actually think my relationship with my siblings got better. I mean, we all have our moments when we get frustrated if something's not working the way we thought it would. But, and I mean, I take the blame for that. Most of the time, it's me. Just because I remember everything I could do before my accident. There would be moments where I was just really down, remembering back to things I loved doing. Some of my friendships changed because, like I said earlier, I couldn't always run off and do the same things that they did. But as I've made progress, I've learned to appreciate the length of time something takes or how people help me. But something that I'm still dealing with even today that's frustrating is that some things I say, or the way I say them, I guess, sometimes they come out in a way I don't mean them.
Do you remember what was easier to recover and what was harder to recover?
I think speaking was the first thing that came back to me after my accident. But I mean, also, I have a lot of spasticity or tightness in my left arm. So it was a lot harder to use my left hand, even when I was still in the hospital. And of course, my walking. But even today, I'm I can walk around the house with my quad cane by myself. I do have instances where I fall, but I'm taking fewer falls. And now, when I fall, I can get back up by myself too. These days, actually, I enjoy it when I fall, as long as I don't get hurt, because then I can get myself back up. 90% of the time, I'm fine when I'm walking with my cane, but there's always the 10% risk. So when I'm outside in my neighborhood, I use my power chair. And we actually have another fold up chair in the car that I can take if we're like going out to dinner, or I actually just got a Lyft account, but I haven't been able to do a test taking it by myself yet.
They have wheelchair accessible vehicles?
Yep.
Do you feel like Boston public infrastructures are well set up for people who are wheelchair users or who have all types of disabilities?
I do in terms of modes of transportation and building setups. The real issue with them, I would have to say, would be the pavement or sidewalks. Some parts are uneven and have like deep holes or divots, depending on which wheelchair I have. It could be harder on the wheels.
I remember the other day we went to the Science Museum together, and when we got out of the car, we got to stairs, but the elevator was out of order. And
Right.
those are the cases when if you were on your own,
If there's no one there to help me and I can't get up by myself, then I just can't do it. And then it becomes a great candidate for my accessibility blog of shame. I posted pictures of things that a disabled person wouldn't be able to do. Mom and I went to Barnes and Noble and Old Navy once, and they don't have an automatic door switch, so I wouldn't be able to get in without somebody opening the doors for me. Not easily, at least. And I mean that there are some public places where in the bathroom, if there isn't space for my legs to go under the sink so I can wash my hands, sometimes I have to stand up to do it. Now, I can do that, but someone in a more involved position, or someone who's like, say, paralyzed, wouldn't be able to do that. It's probably easier, but in general, I don't like being in my chair. When we stop somewhere for a drink or dinner, I always like transferring out of my chair because it's just a reminder that things have to be different for me. And also I never like feeling like because I need more things for like help. I never wanted to feel like a burden on somebody else.
is that how you feel?
Not in general, but I know it would be easier for them if they didn't need to give me the extra help. That's just how I feel, and that's what makes me try to think of alternative ways, things that could be done that would take pressure off of them. Like, there have been times where I'm out with people and they'd come over to my side to help me stand up. But I put my hands on the table to help me stand up and then slowly be able to inch my way over and sit down so they wouldn't have to do anything.
Do you have thoughts about the way disability is represented in society?
Sometimes people just aren't thinking. They set something up the way they think would be helpful for someone with a disability, and which I know is good, but I also feel like it's important to give the disabled person the option of being able to complete whatever the task is.
So you mean like asking for permission, consent, asking for how the person wants to go around the situation, and you feel like that's not done enough?
There was once when I wanted to see one of the school plays at my high school, and the theater teacher, who was also the director, he brought me over to a spot that was an open spot next to the rest of the chairs in the audience, but it was in the last row, so it was really far back. Instead of me being able to have someone help me walk through the chairs to one of the seats that was a little closer to the stage.
So he thought practical.
Yeah.
Is that a thing that happens?
Not often, but it has happened.
We met at Zeno Mountain Farm
Yeah.
like 8 or 9 years ago. How did you get involved with Zeno?
Well, when I was in rehab after my accident, I was involved with Access Sport America, who held adapted sports outside of the hospital, and Peter Halby used to be Russell Lilly's right-hand man. But after a few years, Pete and his brother formed Zeno. So I was always involved.
So what's Zeno?
Zeno is an organization that strives to give people with disabilities opportunities that they wouldn't have. Like, they do a play every summer. And I mean, in general, most theaters wouldn't have the first thought of combining disabled people and able bodied actors or athletes. It's in a really cool area. The camp is in Lincoln, Vermont, and it's on the top of a mountain where instead of cabins, everyone lives in adapted tree houses or the main house. And they have their own theater in the barn. So They take us swimming in the pond down the road. And there's also a horse's stable, I think at the bottom of the mountain. So they've taken us horseback riding there.
Do you feel comfortable on a horse?
Oh, yeah, horses have always been my favorite animal. And I mean, there is that saying, if you fall off a horse, you need to get back on. And I just want to show the fact that I could do it after having this horrible instance, to show people that I'm stronger than my disability. I'm not done living, and I'm not afraid of anything.
Can you tell me about the everyday life at Zeno? How does it roll?
Well, nobody pays to go to camp, and nobody gets paid to help out. It's all on, I think, a volunteer basis. There's only a handful of people in the world who would dedicate their own time out of their own heart to help people with the disabilities.
Why do you think that?
I think people don't always take people with disabilities in consideration for some things, like Zeno's last movie, Best Summer Ever. The world's never seen a movie with able-bodied, with the disabled-bodied people, and so many different locations, I guess. It took, I think, 3 years to make. I'm even an extra in it.
Mhm.
It was so much fun. And actually, I got to be in it twice because I did one film camp up at Zeno, but then they came down here to Wayland and filmed a scene at my high school. So I
So
got to
cool.
be in it again.
So cool.
Thanks.
Can you tell me a little bit about, like you said that at Zeno, people just help each other out. How would you say that that happens?
Well, there are some people who can feed themselves, so people can help out for that. Same for like dressing and in the shower. I mean, for the longest time, I even needed help getting into the shower there. Actually, I think I still do. Yeah, and I've actually just started doing it myself at home.
You had your accident when you were 10, and now how old are you?
29. And I'm still making progress, slowly but surely. And I'm not about to stop.
I know that you used to have a journal that you held that where you listed all of your micro victories that are not even micro, they're real victories. Is that something you still do?
Yeah, I still have that. And of course, I am guilty of basically putting my life on Facebook.
You like sharing?
Yeah, I don't post all that stuff to try to show off to everybody. I'm really trying to make others see, like, here's what I'm doing, so that they'll be inspired to make more of their own accomplishments.
Like running a marathon?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I've done that twice.
I will.
Well, I haven't run it, but I've hand cycled 26.2 miles.
Wow, I can't even begin to imagine doing something like that. It's so great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And you also wrote 4 books?
4.
What do you talk about in your books?
The same sort of things I'm talking to you about now. My first book basically covers my whole life, like how I grew up, and what I did before my accident, what happened, my journey afterwards. I think the last thing I talked about was when I got my associate's degree at Dean College.
What did you study?
I was a liberal arts major. When I was in high school, my high school was really negative about my capabilities to be able to go to college.
What did they say?
That I wasn't capable of doing unmodified work, that I wouldn't be able to handle college level work, and that even if I tried, I wouldn't be successful.
That's very presumptuous.
Yeah, my high school years weren't the best. That was part of why I had such a hard time at times, but also just knowing what they would, I guess, tell my parents in some of their meetings and what I'd hear some of them say to, like, teaching assistants and teachers. I think it was my special ed teacher who just quickly responded with, Marina's not capable of that. For example, I wanted to try some unmodified testing, but instead of preparing me for how to take it, they just threw an unmodified test at me.
What's an unmodified test?
So, a modification is when the work gets changed so that it's presented to someone in another way. And unmodified is just getting the same work as what everybody else is doing.
So you were following the same classes, you were following the same program, but the testing you had was adapted to you.
I wouldn't say adapted, but, or no, maybe that is it. Sometimes when I'd get math homework, everybody else would have to do 10 problems, but I'd only have to do 5.
Do you think you could have done the 10?
I do, but I'm also an overachiever. So, as sometimes my thoughts aren't as realistic as something really would be.
So it's more about the quantity of work that you had to do than the difficulty of the exercises.
Here's another example. I applied to 4 colleges, and only one of them didn't accept me. And it was actually the college I really wanted to go to, but they didn't accept me because my special ed teacher had, or I don't know if it was specifically her, but the school had gone back and changed my high school transcript to say that all of my classes were modified, which they weren't. Because I did take one class and I was the only one from my class of the year before who my teacher was recommending I take the unmodified
What class was
one,
it?
biology,
Why do you think they modified your file?
to have proof that I wouldn't be able to do it,
Do
to do unmodified work.
Why wouldn't they want you to go to the college you want?
In all honesty, I think they were trying to prove that they were right, which they weren't.
Did you ever feel overprotected?
Yeah, I mean, there are some things I've seen friends do that people wouldn't let me do because they thought it was too dangerous. And that's where I've always had the aspect of I just want to try.
How does it make you feel not to be able to try?
It's a really defeating feeling. It just makes me feel like people are looking at the angle from my disability than what I can actually do.
How did COVID go for you?
COVID's been an issue for everyone. On
And
April 16th, I went into what's called baclofen withdrawal.
what is that?
So there's a muscle relaxant called baclofen that that I have in a pump in my abdomen, and it gets sent straight to my spine, and it loosens up the tightness in my muscles. Well, once when I got it refilled, which is done through a needle, my physiatrist must have poked a hole in the tube that attaches to the pump under my skin and wraps around my spine to release the baclofen. It caused a clog in my pump. And there was one day my body was shaking uncontrollably, and none of my family members could figure out what was wrong with me. It even started to affect my breathing a little. That's how bad it was. And then I suddenly remembered a scene in the movie Rent where the character Mimi is going through withdrawal and her body is shaking uncontrollably, just like mine was. So I actually am the one who figured out what was wrong. My parents called my physiatrist, who confirmed that that was probably what was happening. I went to the hospital on April 16th. That was actually really bad timing because that was when Boston hit the COVID surge, and there were a ton of COVID patients in the hospital. But I was put in the neuro ICU because my blood pressure was so high. So I was away from the COVID patients. Nobody was allowed to be with me. I was by myself. I was only in the hospital for 3 days.
Okay.
It turned out that my neurosurgeon was able to just give me a new pump. Even before I got the pump, I knew that baclofen withdrawal was a risk, but it still seemed worth it to get the pump. And it was, because my walking's so much better.
How would you describe yourself?
I would describe myself as hardworking, determined, motivated, passionate, creative, and I guess humorous. Because, I mean, that's part of why I recovered so fast, so well, and that's actually how I woke up from my coma. I was laughing at a story Mom told me.
Do you remember the story?
So we had a retired racing greyhound as a pet. And I had gotten one of those for real mechanical cat toys. And I had started being able to respond by pushing buzzers and in the hospital. Someone asked Mom if there were toys at home that would cause a response. She found that the cat, wanted to see if the batteries still worked, put the cat down in front of our dog. Something happened, like the cat meowed or swished its tail, and our dog levitated and totally freaked out. And I started laughing at that. And what else was cool about that was that everybody would come in afterwards telling me jokes. And I had enough sense that I'd laugh at the good jokes, but not the bad ones.
What kind of relationship do you have with your parents?
We're really close. I do things with my mom every day. And even with both my parents, we love playing games, going shopping, seeing movies, going out to restaurants, and traveling together.
Where do you travel?
Part of my dad's job is sometimes he goes into New York for some events. When he does that, we can go with him because we get to stay in a hotel for free. The company pays for it.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
Is it easy for you to travel?
Well, it is, as long as I'm with the right person. Or not the right person, Wow, I sound horrible. But just a person. Because, like, I can't drive yet. I need help getting on planes. So I always need someone. I think I mentioned that I got a Lyft account, but I haven't tried to use that by myself yet.
I always wonder about words. Are there words that you don't use that are related to disability?
I hated the word retarded. I think that's the only word I have a problem with. I used to hate the term disabled because I always thought of that term as meaning somebody who couldn't walk, speak, or function basically. So even today, I always use the term disability, even though I understand that disabled it doesn't have a negative connotation, but I don't know why it just always sounded worse than having a disability. I remember when the summer before I entered sixth grade, I was with one of my friends who has cerebral palsy, and I remember him saying, "Yeah, I'm glad I won't be the only disabled person there." And I was like, I didn't say anything because I don't know why disabled just sounds worse than having a disability.
When I invited you to talk on this podcast, did you have specific subjects that you wanted to bring up?
Mm, well, anything I wanted to bring up, you've actually covered.
Well, that's good.
Yes,
That's great. Would you have a final word?
that people should always believe in themselves, listen to their intuitions, because that might help them even more than they could imagine. And just don't give up, even when the going seems really hard.
It's very true. Thank you for having this conversation with me. It was great.
Thank you for this opportunity, Leia. Hi, this is Marina. I wanted to share some life updates. I have currently done an interview with Advocates, which is an organization that offers programs and support for individuals and families facing disabilities and other challenges with finding job placements.
You've been listening to Out of Sync, exploring life through disability, one story at a time. New episodes drop every Tuesday. Transcripts are available on YouTube, and French language stories on Decali, Decales. I'm Léa Hirschfeld. Thanks for listening.